Motul Superbike class and Bazaz Superstock 1000 class getting ready to get underway here at Road Atlanta. For our final race, here's a look at the starting grid. It's Cameron Beaubier on pole, Tony Elias, Roger Hayden, Josh Hayes Herron, and Matthew Skoltz with his first win of 2017 for his home team.
Bobby Fong coming home second yesterday in Superstock. Kyle Wyman, Jake Lewis put that Suzuki in third yesterday. Row 4, Jake Gagne, Danny Eslick, Bryce Prince, who found some things in warm-up after his engine expired yesterday. Row 5, we got David Anthony, Hayden Gillum, Max Flinders, and row 6, Anthony Kaczynski, who tipped over late in the race yesterday, if you remember, Greg, but he got back up. He ran his fastest lap he's ever ran yesterday afternoon. There's a good look at Anthony going into turn 1. But he ran a good solid race yesterday up until the last lap and tipped over in this section he's going through right now up in turn 2 and 3. And this is the view that you can see if you're sitting on the turn 5 hillside here at Atlanta. You can watch these bikes wind all the way down through these S's that everybody's been talking about and into turn 5. And as you come through turn 5, where Josh Hayes is now, and you go up over the top of this hill, it gets pretty exciting because it actually goes up over the top of a rise. You can see a lot of riders doing a lot of different things to try to keep that front wheel on the ground.
And look who's the last rider in the frame. It looked like Tony Elias was getting away late. He likes to just get late. All right, let's look at the Kawasaki keys to the race. Jason, take it away.
I thought about these today, Greg. Rivalry has begun. Finally, it has started. We knew it was going to come. It didn't start at Coda, but it started here, and now it's only going to get ramped up from here on. You can hear by both those guys' comments at the start. Neither one of them are going to back down. Herron and possibly Gagne today. How about Josh Herron yesterday? We've talked about that a lot, but we've all been waiting. I've been waiting to see Jake Gagne back in front. I talked to Danny Walker. They said this morning he ran consistent mid-26s. That might be enough to get him kind of on the back of those other 4 or 5 Superbikes. And boy, that's where that kid belongs. I do not doubt the skills of him. And how about Matthew Skoltz wins his first Superstock race yesterday? We had some problems when he was coming to the grid just now, but he beat Bobby Fong in a straight fight yesterday.
That's Kawasaki keys to the race, and more on Matthew Skoltz. Terry.
Yeah, I talked to team manager Chuck Giacato, and he said that Matthew told him that coming out of that turn there in the sighting lap, there was no response after he twisted the throttle. So they expect that it's some kind of an electronic issue. They're working on figuring out what that is, but no word yet how it's going to affect him going into this race.
All right, so Matthew Skoltz pointing down his motorcycle. Who's the left part of your screen, number 11. 00 last year on the Amalu Westby Racing Yamaha as we get set to go. So it looks like riders are in place. Green flag, right part of your screen waving. Grid marshal gets off. So the bikes are in gear. Tony Elias getting set with that launch control. Here we go. When that red light goes on, you're going to hear the revs go up. And it's time to go racing.
Great start by our front row. Cameron and Tony both get a good jump. Tony gets the start, looks over to his right, sees his teammate over there, but has got too good of a jump. Cameron's going to slide into second with Raj third. Josh Hayes, Josh Herron going up the hill. I see Bobby Fong in there in 6th. As they crest the top of this hill, though, it's going to be the 2 Yoshimura Suzukis leading the way. This is where you fall into line. You kind of, everybody gets single file, get down through this section. Got to do that, Greg, to get your race started correctly. It's real hard up there to do anything with anybody through this section.
Looks like M4X Star Suzuki's Jake Lewis there getting a little bit racy in the back, trying to find a way around Bobby Fong. That's that Superstock 1000 battle. Now we come down the hill. Looks like Josh Herron kind of in the back there, trying to make a move for 4th spot, but he'll slide behind 2 factory Yamahas. So it's Suzuki, Yamaha leading the way, and then Bobby Fong up and out of the saddle, back on his Kawasaki.
Yep, first run down this back straightaway. This is where when you're 4th or 5th, you got to keep that in mind. Both those guys, Cameron Beaubier and Josh Herron, are smart when it comes to that. They're going to know they're going to probably have to sit just a little bit early just to make sure that they don't get drawn in by that draft. Roger Hayden also. That first time down there is always just kind of like, okay, I got that out of the way, and then the race can kind of fall into place for you. But that first lap going down that back straightaway in 6th gear, flat out, feeling the wind and where everybody is around you, it just kind of takes your breath away for a minute. So here we go. First lap led. Both Yoshimura bikes got a lot of dust and dirt in the background. People running off the track back there. But we got that same 5 guys as we had yesterday, and we see Jake Lewis, like you called, right on the back of Bobby Fong on the first lap.
Bobby Fong really felt that they made a couple of adjustments on that motorcycle, specifically getting through this section of the racetrack, up top here, turn 2, and down through the S's. If Fong could get his bike working better this morning, that he feels like he can stick with these super bikes. Quite a bold prediction by Bobby Fong. He's a lot closer than he was yesterday, but we're working lap number 2 as Roger Hayden continues to lead the way.
Well, when you go back to that section, you'll see there's one guy doing things a little bit differently than everybody else, and I'll point that out when we go back to that part. But as we're going into turn 6 here, everyone's just kind of leading and following and seeing what's happening. We saw both Cameron Beaubier did this a lot yesterday. Just kind of let the race come to him. He followed the leaders, that somebody else set the pace. Yesterday at this point, though, Josh Hayes was up into second and working on Raj already. You can see Roger's got his head down right off the bat and trying to give a little bit of a breakaway.
Here comes Cameron Beaubier up into third past Josh Hayes. Hayes said he was so surprised that when he was making mistakes in the middle part of the race that riders weren't coming around him. He didn't think his pace was really that fast, and he said he felt like he was racing a little bit behind him and less out front. He was thinking about the riders behind him. Now he's got these 3 in front of him, but Hayes with the same setup motorcycle as he had yesterday. We're going to take a look at this pace and see how these guys, 25.9 for Roger Hayden.
Yep, and now we've got, Tony just in front of Cameron. So we're going to see how Cameron handles this whole situation. It looks like he can see Rod. Nobody's going to get away. This is going to be kind of what happens. Now watch when Tony comes up here. He's going to hit this right, this left. He's going to run over this paint. He's the only rider running over that paint on the way into that right-hand turn. And you can see what it does is it just opens up that exit a little bit. Is it faster? I don't think it's really any quicker. But he's just using a little bit extra of that concrete, or that little bit of green and white concrete strips that you see, the tiger teeth, if you will, to just use that. He's just got something a little bit different.
Back in the top part of your screen, there's a battle going on in Superstock 1000 between Jake Lewis and Bobby Fong as we continue to watch these 5 running up front. And it looks like possibly that Jake Lewis got around Fong, and he did back there on that M4 XR Suzuki. So quite a battle in Superstock 1000 as denoted by the different color number plates. But here we go. It's Yoshimura Suzuki, those 2, and it's Monster Energy Yamaha Factory Racing's Cameron Beaubier as they start to lose a little bit of touch with Josh Hayes and Josh Herron.
And, when you look back there at Josh Hayes, he's so used to leading races, and you can see Matthew Schultz has finally pulled off. He's not a happy guy right now, and that's got to be so frustrating. He wanted to do the double for his team here at this track, and he knows Bobby Fong, as good as that bike and that Lattice Motorsports team have put underneath Bobby Fong, you can't just give up these points. So looking at the times now, 25.8 is quickest by Tony Elias, 25.8 by Raj, 25.8 by Beaubier. It's kind of same as we saw yesterday. These guys kind of rolling along in the 25s and just kind of feeling each other out a little bit right now.
Tony Elias, man, he just tries to make as much of a straight line of that section as he possibly can. Roger Hayden, Tony Elias, so close in lap times right now. You're going to start seeing him coming down. Most of the time we've seen around lap 5 or so will be the fastest lap of the race for many people. But yesterday in this 21 lap race, it was lap 20 where Tony Elias set the fastest lap of the race, chasing Cameron Beaubier.
Yep.
And when he did that, he absolutely ripped the first part of this race.
He really did. And right now, we're just, these 5 guys have kind of broke away. They're doing their thing, and they're just kind of watching each other. We got such a long time. And it's funny, Greg, because when you watch a race like this and you see 5 people so glued together, you just kind of wonder, okay, what's he planning? What's he thinking about doing? The point you just made there, we know how strong Tony is at the end of these races, and I think that's what's changed the dynamic of our series a little bit, because you can't give anything up anywhere anymore, and especially at the end of the race, you can't just get away and then put it on cruise. You're going to get pushed the whole time now, and you can see Josh Herron is he's kind of doing the same thing, waiting there. Bobby Fong, Kyle Wyman. Somebody's gone down. Somebody in our lead group.
The racetrack, so somebody in the lead group. Yep.
We'll have to have a look and see what that is.
It's Josh
Hayes has gone down in turn 1, and that is just really uncharacteristic. That's crazy. He wants to go look, see if he can get his bike. That's what Josh is doing right now. Let me go get my bike. But I think, wow, you just don't see Josh make those kind of mistakes. And it was off our camera, so we didn't get to see it.
He just set the fastest lap of the race, by the way, 1:25.5. So Hayes had set the fastest lap of the race, then went into turn 1, and away she went from him. So maybe Hayes was at that limit. He told me that he did race at his limit all race yesterday. So very uncharacteristic of the 4-time Superbike champ. His parents are here this weekend and a whole bunch of folks. So Hayes up and all right, which is the most important thing, but 0 points going to be scored for Hayes.
That's just such a shame. And, now we got a 4-rider battle. And these guys are all glued together. Get a great look at Josh Herron going up over the top of the hill. We got debris flags coming down the hill. This is going to be
yellow into the final corner.
And that's going to be for Josh, though. They're letting riders know that they've already taken the flag. Bobby Fong has gone down, Greg.
Wow.
This is huge. This looks like the turn 10A area. He's up trying to get that bike started.
Josh Herron has moved his way into third place, but it's Bobby Fong who's trying to get his motorcycle started. So now Josh Herron has moved his way around Cam Beaubier, and it's Herron, who I was gonna say before Bobby Fong went down, how he seems like a different rider this week. Very patient is Josh Herron. So now, flying the Yamaha flag at this moment is the number 2, Josh Herron.
Look at the drive he got on the outside of Tony as they came up over turn 5. And you know, when he sees somebody like Josh Hayes go down in front of him, this is just huge motivation for him to get that helmetsounds.com R1 on the box for Mean Motorsports. He's doing a fantastic job too right now, Greg.
A privateer on the podium here in Superbike would be something completely special. It's happened, there's no doubt. You know, Bobby Fong has stood on the podium, but in a Superbike, on a Superbike, this would be amazing. Now we know that team is behind on the electronics. They don't have the Magneti Marelli system that the Yamaha team has. They're a little bit behind in trying to get those electronics, so Josh Herron running without him.
And his
Cameron
bike
Beaubier doesn't run with a lot of them.
But his bike, sorry, Greg, I didn't mean to
all right.
jump in there, but his bike looks really good. Next time he comes over there, look and see how good his bike looks coming up over the top of the rise there. Even with no electronics, he's doing a great job of just managing that throttle and getting up over the top. He's had some arm pump issues this weekend, but so far, you know, you saw Tony Elias look back. I bet he wasn't expecting to see a number 2 right behind him.
You know what, I asked Tony about riding with Josh Herron because that was his first opportunity to do so yesterday. And Tony just said, wow, he's a good rider, but man, he is just all over the place. And Tony, with a big smile on his face, he's crazy. So,
yeah.
You know, Tony knows that Josh Herron's going to be there. And I think, as we look at Josh Hayes, he gives us the thumbs up, so he's okay.
Yeah,
Shot
it's
of
good
his
to see.
folks. Yeah.
Good to see he's okay. Very uncharacteristic, and you know, he did that very early in the turn. I can see that. I can see where he fell from where we're sitting, and it happened very, very early in the corner.
If he gets back to
Josh Herron makes a mistake.
Big mistake. So
Turn
now
7.
That relegates him back to 4th. But Josh Hayes, no doubt, will be heading back towards the pits, and maybe Terry Lee will get a word with him, and we'll find out. So now, all of a sudden, just like that, it's a battle between Yoshimura Suzuki's as Josh Herron on his helmetsound.com. And here comes Tony Elias. He's going for it. What a lead battle. He's a little snug.
And Cameron was wide too in there.
Wow, so the extra heat yesterday, we know that the track was a little bit cooler, even though the ambient temperature was a little higher. Track temps going up.
Well, we're going to have to see now our first, boy, Josh Hayes started it here with his tip over. We started to see, we had those 4 guys together, and there you go. There's Josh Herron back and forth, made a small mistake in turn 7. Let's see what he did, Greg. Looks like he maybe caught a false neutral down going into turn 7. That would be kind of my guess, just kind of getting in there, maybe backshifting to first and getting it stuck in between gears.
You're on the brakes there, but it's not like a hard braking spot.
Correct, yeah. So these 3 guys are getting glued back together. Cameron has kind of sat back, watched Herron make a little bit of a mistake. These 3 look like they were getting separated, and now they're all kind of working their way back into getting back together here.
That mistake that cost Josh Herron about 2 seconds, 1.5 seconds. The real question is if Herron has the pace to close the gap, what's he going to do to his tires? Because you've got to sacrifice something to make up this gap, and oftentimes it's going to be tire performance. Yeah,
when you have 3 guys like this that are they're kind of able to draft and redraft each other just a little bit, that's going to be another disadvantage that Josh doesn't have a dance partner back there. You see Roger Hayden having a look down the inside of Tony as they come down into turn 10A there. And this is the spot that Tony Elias does really, really well.
Let's take a look at Tony Elias here over the curb section of the track. He just
through
likes
the dirt.
to go right in the dirt. He's not scared.
No, he goes through the dirt and he goes over that tiger teeth that I was talking about right there. You can see he's, like you say, Greg, he's straight lining that as much as he can, trying to decrease lean as much as he can. Now he's making his own line through the dirt. So the problem with that is you got to be careful what you might do to your wheels there. You don't want to bend your rims because over that dirt section, there are lips there. Like there's a big lip from where the dirt and the pavement come together. and you don't want to start bending wheels there. So he's got to be a little bit careful of that. You saw that time there, he stayed off the dirt.
In the section that Tony Elias is in right now is the section he's struggling with most of the weekend. And when I went to talk to his crew chief, Daisuke, I said, what part of going the fastest lap on lap 20 was Tony able to do? Was it gas? Was it brake? He said no. He just nailed the first split. So in warm-up this morning, that's what they focused on. They focused on giving him a better GSXR 1000 RR to get through that first section. And right now, it looks like they've accomplished that task because Tony Elias seems to have that section from 2 down to 5 pretty well dialed.
Yes, he does. He looks really good down there. Look at Raj, though. Raj is in the draft. Very neat and tidy here. Let's see if he can do anything. I think Raj wants to get down there, and look at it. Raj's going to go through into turn 8.
Oh, Raj, off that rear brake, a little bit sideways. He gets the thing down. So Roger Hayden will take over the lead from his teammate, Tony Elias. We'll see what happens when they come down the hill. Tony with more of an inside line. Ken Bobier around the outside. Oh, that was close.
That was close, but there you go.
Oh.
Hey, look who's back there. Number 2 has got his way back up. 25-7 for Josh Herron.
And look back in the distance. It's Kyle Wyman.
Kyle Wyman's riding amazing right now. 26 flat for Kyle. And I've been waiting to see Kyle up in the front with these guys. That's great, but he's coming. But Josh Herron was able to, there's Tony in the dirt again. But Josh Herron was able to close this distance again, Greg. Now, like you said, what has he done to that rear tire to get back up there? That said, it only took him two laps to really do it.
Let's take another look. Take a look at the 2 bikes right there in the middle. Elias and
that's a toe puck.
Oh,
that's what that is.
Yeah,
he just drug the toe puck off him, and Tony said, I bet I know who that was.
Watch this. Looks around and he starts shaking his head. You think that motivates Cam a little more?
Oh yeah, there's
Go
no
ahead,
question.
Shake your head out.
Yep.
We'll see how this thing goes.
Yep, there's no question. There, Cameron again. They didn't do anything wrong there. Now Josh Herron is going to get a draft here pretty soon, where he's going to be able to try to do something with one of these 3 or one of these 2 guys. Raj, in the meantime, is going, you guys keep doing that with yourselves back there, and I'm going to keep trying to pull away.
Out of turn 7, Cam Bobier got spit up and out of the saddle a little bit. Now, we do know that Cam Bobier runs a little bit of traction control, and he has more settings if he needs it. He told me, though, that most races, he's so focused on what's going on that he forgets he has extra maps to click on through.
I was never good when they said, Jay, if it gets like this, click over to that map. Right? Look at that. Look like Tony lost the front a little bit there. But, yeah, when you're in this kind of situation now, you learn to ride around certain things, and I was never smart enough either to click it over. Not that Cameron's not a lot smarter than I am, but I can definitely relate to what he is saying when it says to switch over to another map here or there.
There are buttons on the handlebars, extra things that you don't necessarily have on your GSXR 1000 or Yamaha R1. And these riders are equipped with different, on-bike adjustments that they can do in different parts of the race. We're in the middle part, 11 laps to go. As we look at Josh Hayes, looks like he's back in the pits.
And these guys are all 4 getting closer together again. Roger's done a great job taking the lead here and setting the pace. Low 26s, 25.9, 25.8 for the last lap. So here we go, back down the back straightaway again. I think the interesting point here is yesterday with about 6 to go, about 5 or 6 to go, we saw Herron drop off the back of these guys. And he just looks like he's been, other than having to catch back up after his mistake, he's been kind of just hanging out back there. Tony Elias is going to dive back down the inside of Raj because I think backed in over the paint. Now see if Raj can square him up at all as they get ready to go up over the top of this hill.
Tony got a good drive, and that's another part of this racetrack that the Yoshimura Suzuki crew worked on, that particular part, because Tony was struggling a little bit. So Tony Elias will now take over the lead as they cross the line. But Terry, Josh Hayes has made it back to the pits. What do you got?
Josh, first of all, how are you?
Fortunately for such a fast crash, I got out without a scratch, really. Bruised my fingertips probably just smacking the ground, but a little ride through the gravel trap. The worst part for me is knowing how hard my boys work on that beautiful R1. Putting one over the fence is never fun. So fortunately I'm okay, and I was having an okay race to that point. And, once in a while they catch you out like that. We had a bit of a headwind going into turn 1 today, and on that lap I'd kind of gotten a little bit closer back to those guys, and I don't know if them being in front of me just took some of that headwind away, but make mistakes sometimes.
Your entire family is in the pit today, including your mom, Marcia Hayes. What did she say when she hugged you when you walked up here?
She didn't really say much. She had a very I want to say concerned, but it looked more angry at me for falling. She just said, "You okay?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Huh." I said, "Sorry, Mom." She just kind of shook her head at me. So she was just glad to see, I'm here, and overall, I scuffed the name off my suit, but my Tai Chi leathers did a good job.
All right, lead changes. Roger Hayden now goes to the front through turn 10A, 10B. So Roger Hayden not playing around at the front of this race. We're glad Josh Hayes is okay. And I know his mom well, man. She definitely likes
came a long way for that.
winner.
Look at these guys go. Greg, it's starting again. Raj wants to throw his name in that hat now. Tony's going to try to go underneath him into turn 1. There's not going to be any room. Raj leads his way up out of turn 1.
Make no mistake that yesterday, when Tony Elias was complaining about what Cameron Beaubier was doing to him, Roger Hayden said, by the way, Tony did that to me and pushed him out. Part of the reason why Roger Hayden was not in the mix yesterday.
Yep, he lost touch with him, didn't he? About 3 or 4 to go, and Tony was trying to make his way back up through into turn 1 there. He pushed Raj wide. So, and Tony's bike moving around a lot there through turn 5. It's going to give that Yamaha of Cameron Beaubier a chance to do something with him as they come into turn 6. But Tony moves over just a little bit to the right. And but you're exactly right. The thing is it's really easy to point fingers, but at the end of the day, everybody's out there trying to win a race.
That's right.
And when you're going to get this close, this is what we've been asking for a lot of years, is getting 4 or 5 riders that are capable of doing that up front. And now we've got that. Raj is hungry. Raj wants to win one of these really close battles. And he's going to lead him going down into turn 10A. Those guys aren't going to be close enough to do anything with him at the bottom of this hill either. Oh, or did I say that?
Yeah.
Tony goes, yeah, I think I'll just prove you wrong, and I'll go slide back up underneath Raj.
Demon on the brakes. Tony Elias retakes the lead in this one. And we are seeing some incredible lead changes all the while. Josh Herron is caught back up to the screw. By the way, on lap 4 of this race, Josh Herron did set the fastest lap of the race, a 125.666.
And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this gap and how it's being managed, but I'm really, really impressed as we see Cameron try to go underneath Raj. Kyle Wyman is just 3.9 seconds behind this mess that's going on up in front of him, and he's just got to be so frustrated that he can't just quite get that little bit extra gap, because he's doing it all by himself running back there. You'll see little flashes of that number 33 bike in the background, but he's getting closer. These guys here, though, look at Tony. You're exactly right. He's improved that bike down through that section that he was struggling with, Greg.
Yeah, he looks amazing through this part of the racetrack. And even when Tony seems to make a mistake and looks like a sitting duck, he's able to just get on that gas. And that new GSXR 1000RR that Yoshimura has prepared is just getting better and better. We're talking session by session.
Yes.
And so, we know that Yamaha is working on their electronics. And in talking to actually Josh Hayes, who's out of this race, I asked him about suspension versus electronics. He hasn't changed any settings on the suspension from race to race because all they're doing is working on electronics.
Yep, look back here in third. Josh is starting to ramp up something, it looks like here. He's up underneath Cameron. Is he going to be able to make that pass? Nope, just having a look. So still very, very patient for Josh Herron, keeping that bike underneath him for hopefully later in these laps. And he knows the way Cameron rides, too. Cameron rides very smart, just sitting there letting these laps wind down, watching what's going on in front of him. Nobody's getting away. So both those Yamahas are sitting on the back of these Yosh bikes.
7 laps to go, mid-race push for Tony Elias as he just did like a high 25, now a 26.2, as he really tries to make that break away from Roger Hayden, Cameron Beaubier, and Josh Herron. So the 24 Yoshimura Suzuki rider is Tony Elias, number 95. That's with the orange, those orange highlights easily to distinguish, as now we get into what is Tony Elias country. He's so fast through this section of racetrack. Number 95 is Roger Hayden right behind, and then you have number 1 plate Cameron Beaubier, your reigning national champion. He's got 2 of those, and behind him a former national champion in the Superbike class, number 2. That's Josh Herron on that yellow and black Yamaha.
And current Superstock 1000 champion.
So
yeah, exactly right. So, but it's funny, Greg, as good as Tony is down through the S's there, he struggles a little bit out of 5 almost, it looks like, and he's cleaned that up a little bit today. But we saw some of these guys getting really good drives on him on the exit of turn 5, even during this race. And we'll see how that plays out, because it might make him open for a pass into turn 6 later on.
And just to keep you updated, as you can see in the left-hand part of your screen, Bobby Fong was not able to get his Kawasaki refired, and so he is out of the race. So right now our non-finishers are Hayes, Fong, and Schultz. So we have 13 riders still circulating this racetrack, as now it looks like Cam Beaubier, whoa, he was thinking about trying to make that move. Yeah. He's familiar with that one. But Roger Hayden seems pretty strong on the brakes right now, but Tony Elias has put his head down. He's really trying to make a break, as he was the fastest rider on that lap at a 26 flat. So here we go, 6 laps to go in this one. This front group kind of stretched out ever so slightly. Looks like Cam Beaubier, a little mistake driving up the hill. He's going to have to try to make it back in this S section here at Road Atlanta. It's the Motul Superbike and Bazaz Superstock 1000 classes. And in the Superstock 1000, it's Jake Lewis leading. His next nearest competitor is actually Danny Eslick. So Danny Eslick is in 8th spot, about 7 seconds behind Jake Lewis.
Yeah, it's a big gap in the Superstock class, but look what's happened here. These two Yosh bikes, as Josh Herron has moved up to 3rd, but these two Yosh bikes now, Greg, are starting to get away.
Could Cameron Beaubier have a bit of a problem, maybe traction loss? A mistake for Cam Beaubier. This last lap for him is not going well at all. He's going to pull out of the draft. It's factory Yamaha R1 versus privateer Yamaha R1, and the nod goes to Cam Beaubier at the moment. Well, he is deep into 10A. Missed the apex a little bit, but he gets it turned and accelerating up the hill, the national champion. But these Yoshimura Suzukis are eking away from him.
And there's something that happened in that first split, Greg, and I missed it. So something happened in that first split. 33.9 for Raj, 34.6 for Cameron. So something probably just happened, but you're going to see Cameron get his head down now. We got 4 to go. And Cameron's going to get his head down and try to reel these two guys back in.
Looks like Anthony Kaczynski on the 63, who moved over and got out of the way. As these riders head on by, 5 laps to go in this race. Man, Roger Hayden at this point has really got to dig deep, because last time by, Tony dipped it into the 25.8, 25.9 for Roger. Cam Beaubier at 26.3. Things are starting to spread out a bit. This is not what Roger Hayden wants to see. The question is, with 5 laps to go, how much of a gap do you leave, Tony, and how hard do you push? Because you've got to be thinking about tire wear and how your bike is set up and how it feels as the grip starts to decrease.
No, there's no question. You can see these bikes moving around a little bit more, but Raj has somehow mustered up quickest split for him in the first split here. Quick split for him in the race, so he's trying to draw Tony back in as they go, and you can see the two Yamahas fighting just behind for that final podium spot right now. Cameron hasn't been able to make too big of an impression on the Yoshimura Suzukis in this lap, so you know he's finally just dropping off, and Raj just did a race best, not just a personal, but a full-on race best second split, trying to catch back up to Tony, and he's back on his rear wheel again. This is going to be a fast lap for Raj, so he's going to answer back to Tony's 25.8 with a 25.5 fastest lap of the race.
Fastest lap of the race on lap 17. By the way, Cameron Beaubier just did his personal best, fastest lap of the race. So did Josh Herron. So these riders putting in ripping lap times, 17 laps into the race.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that makes Superbike racing so good now, in the sense that with electronics and some of the things, you can control the bikes a little bit more. I think that they're a little bit easier to ride than they used to be. That is no knock on these guys whatsoever, but it helps you with tire life is what I mean. So it allows you to be able to put that more, gives you more grip towards the end of the race. Bikes aren't spinning as much and that kind of thing. And you can see Cameron now is on a very fast lap, and you can look at it not just on screen, but we can look at on our monitors here, and he's done a very first fast split. And he's trying to draw those guys back in, and Josh Herron's just losing a little bit now.
Tony Elias leading the way. And he ripped one at a 25.7 this late in the race. That was answered by a 25.5 of Roger Hayden. Roger Hayden is on it right now, folks. Roger Hayden has the bit between his teeth. He wants this race win. He definitely doesn't want to give it to his teammate.
Now Roger's there. I just want to know what he's going to do with it. You know, what is his plan? What's he thinking about doing? As you can see, Tony's going very tight into that last corner. He doesn't want to give anybody a chance to go underneath him. And I don't know if his board is telling him that it's his teammate right behind him, but he knows he's got a +0 on his board, and he's running it into that last corner very tight, just with the idea that if it is Cameron, he's not going to give him the same opportunity to do with what he did yesterday 2 times. This is coming up out of turn 10B, and this is what I'm talking about. Look at, really, that bike has just still got a lot of grip. It's not moving around underneath him a lot, and as he drives up over the hill, these two guys have drawn back into him. How about 25.4 for Cameron Beaubier on the last lap? And Cameron's just so good. He falls back a little bit, but he never panics. And now we're going to get to see some fireworks going underneath Raj in turn 6.
So Roger Hayden's plans have been thwarted by Cameron Beaubier as Cam Beaubier takes over the position. This is coming off of the fastest lap of the race, set on lap 18 by the #1 plate. So now Cam Beaubier on his Monster Energy Yamalube Yamaha. Takes over second spot.
Raj in the draft. Raj is going to try to, nope, didn't have enough room. That's pretty dicey. It's a dicey move when you go down the right side of somebody going down in there. But look at Raj, how deep he is in the 10.
Roger Hayden, number 95. With those orange accents on that Suzuki GSX-R 1000RR 2017 model. And there's the Yamaha R1 of Cam Beaubier. His teammate Josh Hayes out early in this one. The crash in turn number 1. We've also lost Bobby Fong on a Kawasaki and Matthew Skoltz in the Yamalube Yamaha Westby Racing machine. But it's all about up front right now. As Jake Lewis in 6th place, you can see left-hand part of your screen there, LEW. That's your super stock leader. And Jake Lewis doing a great job. But up front, this has been a heart-pounding battle since the beginning.
Now this is where Tony struggles a little bit out of turn 5. Let's see if Cameron draws up on the back of him on the exit of this corner and is able to do anything with him like he did with Raj a lap before down in turn 6. You can see he's really close to him, but he's not going to be able to do anything here. Also look like they might be catching another back marker. That's Max Flinders. Yep. So these guys he might be getting blue flags down the back straightaway. Yes, he is. Good for Max, just moved over there. Big moment for Cameron on the exit of turn 7.
Folks, here we go. Okay, we're approaching the white flag lap. There have been words between Tony Elias and Cam Beaubier, the two riders that are leading the way. There is no love lost between them as Roger Hayden is going to try to throw a shot on Cam Beaubier and ruin the party. So there goes Roger Hayden. He's got to get a good drive out of here and get down this hill if Roger's got a chance to win this one.
There comes Cameron, though. He's going to try to do his move like he was yesterday. He's not close enough, though.
Oh, Roger Hayden looks like he was in a little deep and had to check up. Is this infighting going to allow Tony Elias to walk away with it? We're on the final lap of this race, the final lap of the race weekend here at Road Atlanta. It's the Suzuki X-Star Championship at Road Atlanta. And will we see a Suzuki stand on top of the box? Here we go. This is Tony Elias' section right now. No dirt for him that time, but definitely bumping and grinding.
Wow, did he clean that section. He cleaned that so good. And that literally, Roger started to catch up, and Tony pulled back away there.
Roger Hayden through turn 5, a little bit wide, trying to get the power to the ground.
And Cameron's going to go back underneath him in 6, or he's going to make an effort to. He's not going to be close enough to do it. And Roger isn't close enough to get to Tony at this particular stage. And here goes Cameron underneath. Roger tries to, and that's going to be Cameron's race there. Now Roger doesn't know that he's not going to be getting drafted here. But he's just not quite close enough to Tony. It's going to have to be a last corner move, I believe, Greg, for him to do anything because he's just not close enough right now.
Get on the edge of your seats, folks, because what's going to happen? Here we go, down into 10A, 10B. Tony Elias is deep into this corner. Roger Hayden trying to make up the distance. Here they come, acceleration out over the hill. Roger Hayden has one final chance to win this race. As they come down the hill, it looks like Tony Elias, if he can get it stopped, is going to have his way and take victory here at Road Atlanta, race number 2 in the Motul Superbike class. Wow.
Did you see how tight he went into the last corner? He went in there so tight. And here, how about this guy, Josh Herron and Kyle Wyman. What a great result for Kyle. Only coming in 11 seconds behind that lead group that were still doing fastest lap times of the race with 3 and 4 laps to go. So great job for Kyle finishing 5th. Now we're looking for our first super stock guy to come across the line. It's going to be the first win of the year and first win in 1000 super stock for Jake Lewis as he comes across the line just in front of Jake Gagne, who finishes 7th. And then we're going to have Danny Eslick, David Anthony, and Bryce Prince come across also. Bryce Prince, Danny Eslick will be 2nd. Bryce Prince will be 3rd in 1000 Superstock. So Bean Motorsports is going to have both their riders on the podium today, Greg.
And by the way, if my calculations are correct, since Bobby Fong did not finish and Matthew Skoltz did not finish in the Superstock 1000 class, Bobby came into the race with 70, Skoltz was 65, Jake Lewis with 45. Add 25 to 45, what do you get?
Don't ask me, Greg. You're asking me. Why are you looking at me? Is that because you're trying to add it up?
It's 70 points.
70 points.
That means that we're going to be all tied up on the Zaz Superstock 1000 standings between Bobby Fong, Jake Lewis, and Matthew Skoltz is only going to be 5 points back.
That's a big thing with
And Danny
as far
Eslick on the podium
Danny
again.
Eslick's on the podium, but having both those guys, both Bobby Farr and Schultz pull out of that race is huge. Bryce Prince finished third. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. So Bryce Prince yesterday had an issue with his motor, and that team worked tirelessly last night to get it going, and he was able to get a podium finish today for that team.
So Tony Elias in the Motul Superbike class won it, and this is how he did it.
Did it going down into turn 10A, something that we saw over and over in this race where guys were testing each other, but this was the final time he was able to do it. And then from this point on, he actually pulled away a little bit, and Raj ran the fast lap of the race, bringing it back, and then Cameron ran the fastest lap of the race, bringing them both back. But this is the finish line. This is the shot coming across the line. Great for Raj to get a second spot today, but I think it's the way he did it. He showed a lot of fight today, and yeah, but Tony Elias, that's 3 out of 4 now.
3 out of 4, and Cambobier didn't get a chance really to take a shot at Tony.
No.
Nor did Tony get a shot at Cambobier. So the rivalry will continue in a couple weeks. We head to Virginia International Raceway. Well, Tony Elias on the Yoshimura Suzuki, that brand new GSXR 1000R, our hotly anticipated motorcycle to come to Superbike racing, and they get a big race win. So congratulations to Tony, Roger, and Cam. We'll take a break here on beIN Sports. When we come back, we'll hear from these riders to see how it went. Stay with us.